Welcome to Real Estate Radio Power Investing, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate investing. Your host, Tom K. Wilson, provides you with insight and guidance from his years of experience as a successful real estate entrepreneur on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate, and much more. Now, here's your host for Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Thanks for tuning in to our Real Estate Radio Power Investing program, where we empower you with the education to maximize your investing success. We're broadcasting from the Silicon Valley corporate headquarters of Wilson Investment Properties, the sponsor of Real Estate Radio Power Investing. I'm Tom K. Wilson, your host for this weekly radio show on multifamily and commercial investing and syndications. If you can't make the live show, you can catch our podcast on wilsoninvest.com. You can also go to bacom.club, B-A-C-O-M-M, for information on our free monthly education meetup venue on commercial and multifamily investing with world-class speakers. So our program today is with Robert Kiyosaki. We're honored to have him back. I've known Robert for many years, and we've had the pleasure of just having a number of days with him again on the Real Estate Guys Summit at Sea, which for 2019. Their 17th and my 8th. And I thought we'd start off, Robert, with some takeaway points, but just in case there's somebody out there that doesn't know who you are and hasn't heard about you, Robert is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and 27 other books, but that's the one that changed the world as a paradigm shifter that taught people about personal finance, something that the schools and academic venue just never seems to do a good job of. Right? Two things they don't teach us about: how to parent and how to manage your personal finance. So that book now has been written in 51 languages, over 27 million copies sold. That's legal ones. And it's available in 109 countries. Been a New York Times bestseller for a long time. Robert is certainly a very versatile investor in many different assets. He believes in investing in real assets as much as possible, but his real passion is financial education, and he's done a wonderful job of that for a long time. Robert, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Tom. Good seeing you from the Real Estate Guys cruise.
Thank you. Yes, it was always good time together.
Yep.
So Robert, on the cruise this year, what would you say? Was there a change in the tone of the message? I was impressed to see how the real estate guys keep broadening the whole spectrum so that you keep backing away and looking at the whole picture instead of just looking at one little piece.
Yeah, I would say it was the best. I think this is number 5 I've been on. And it was the best cruise ever because it's not just about real estate. It really is about the world of money, investing, and it's a very broad subject, as well as, for the guys who are into investing in real estate, they have the time to meet other guys and share ideas on, how to become better real estate investors. But I like it because it was so big picture, and there's a lot of characters up on stage, and I go to learn more than to speak, because I've already heard myself. I go to hear other people.
You do a wonderful job of staying with the group and being there and all the different sessions and listening to the other your peers and others, even from the audience. There, right? There's some very experienced and knowledgeable folks in the audience who we all learn from as well. Yeah,
it was really funny too. Is I have a relative who has her MBA, and she thinks she's God on water. And she says, "Oh, did you have a lot of fun on the cruise?" I said, "Well, I guess I did. It starts at 7 and ends at 2 in the morning." She goes, "Oh, that's so bad for your health." And I went, "So is it better that I just sat around and ate like a pig and slept by the pool and learned nothing?" Well, you've got to take care of your body. Yes, that's just too much effort. I'm going, geez, it's so, you know what I mean, Tom? It's so stimulating. Everybody's got something to say. And true learning is very exciting. Not that BS from school. But they're academic types, and they're not entrepreneurs per se like we are. So it's a different mindset.
Well, that's something like this, I think, tends to attract such like-minded people, right? And the cost of entry is not just the money, but it's committing that much time and wanting to associate with those kinds of people who all have something to contribute, and you learn from everybody. And it's just so stimulating. I've had people when I come back say, "Well, why? If it's kind of tiring. Why don't you just skip some of the things?" Well, you don't understand. What are you going to skip? Everything has new information.
I just want to add in there too. This is Jennifer. I'm the director of marketing at Wilson Investment Properties, and I had the privilege of going on my third summit at sea. And Robert, one of the things that I really loved that you emphasized on was about emotional resilience as part of
Well, I call it spirituality. Mm-hmm. For those who may not know, is I didn't go to a traditional quote unquote university. I went to military school, military academy, and then 5 years in the Marine Corps. So there's a lot of spirit. It's the most spiritual it's a spiritual way to learn. And many people think spirituality is in church. Well, Marine Corps is a different kind of spirituality. It's like the Navy SEALs or the Army Rangers. And I oftentimes meet people who went to traditional schools like this friend of mine with her MBA. And they're so used to just sitting around doing nothing. I'm going, oh my God. They sit there and I don't know what they do. But anyway, I just love the spiritual side of life more than it's more important than the money. And by the way, they're broke. But you rich guys, you just want to make money. I'm going, okay, that's up to you.
Well, Robert, can you talk? Could you talk a little bit about
Jennifer? I'm having a really hard time hearing you. If you could just speak a little louder, please.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about how spirituality is important for an investor? Why should investors really work on that?
Well, it's given you shall receive. So if you really want to make more money, give more. It's biblical. And I just did another interview I don't know when it was, last week sometime, and this guy was talking about playing the cash flow game. He's a real estate investor. And he said to me, can you give me some tips, give our listeners some tips on how they can play the cash flow game so they can screw their opponents?
Wow. He's in the win-lose mentality, right?
I just lost it. No, but I have a lot of friends like that. I was just in LA yesterday. And those guys are they're mega millionaire real estate investors, but they don't help anybody. They don't believe in giving and receiving. It's how much can you take? What's our fee structure? And if an investor makes nothing, tough luck.
Yep.
There are those guys out there. I mean, you know that, Tom. They don't give a what about anybody else but how much money they make.
Yeah.
They're called mutual funds also, and ETFs. It's all about the fees they collect. So my friend puts up these real estate deals, huge syndications, and they suck it out through the fees, although the investor gets nothing. So it's a game that people play.
I've always believed in win-win philosophies. Boy, one of our mentors and folks you and I both respect a lot, Buckminster Fuller, he certainly talked a lot about spirituality, didn't he?
Yep. It's missing today. I just did a Rich Dad radio show on the biggest drug companies in the world, and I'm not talking about cocaine and those things. I'm talking about Pfizer and those guys,
sure,
and how the drug like 80% of all bankruptcies in America are due to medical reasons, not failure in business. But the drug companies, they never lower the prices. They just keep increasing them, so they just repurpose an old patent and then keep the prices high, and then they pay off our congressmen and they pay off the doctors to always recommend their drugs. And that's what's going on in the drug business, and then in Wall Street, which is why I wrote the book Fake Money, Fake Teachers, and Fake Assets. Most of the stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs, not to make the investor rich, they're to make Wall Street rich. Mm-hmm. But it's so prevalent in the world today, it's disgusting personally. So, Jennifer, that's a spirituality for me. If I don't say something, then I'm a coward. Mm-hmm. So that's why I've been just speaking out against these corrupt teachers Look at student loan debt. It's just ripping off the kids today, and they're just sucking the cash up. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's kind of to me, that's spiritual, but it's more Marine Corps spiritual than a Catholic priest spirituality.
Well, true spirituality encompasses all of your life. Robert, we're going to take a short break here. We have Robert Kiyosaki with us today, and we'll be back and ask him some more questions about his takeaways from the Summit at Sea conference that we were just on, about his new book and what he's doing to advance personal finance education. So stay with us. We'll be right back on Real Estate Radio Power Investing.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. I'm Tom K. Wilson, your host, and we have today Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the all-time best-selling of all-time personal finance book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and 26 other books, 27 I guess now, including the new one called Fake, and we'll get to that in a bit. So, Robert, before the break, we were talking about spirituality and how some people have a win-lose mentality, and you can really, I've always had a philosophy of win-win. If you give, then you receive. Kind of a little bit analogous to that is you often talk about and use a kind of metaphoric, iconic approach in talking about the edge of the coin. Can you talk about that some? Tell our listeners.
What was that again? I missed the thing.
Talk about the edge of the coin. About it's not, things aren't always just right or wrong or one side or another.
Correct.
Present that view, if you will. I love that.
One of the things I was studying with Buckminster Fuller, he was a guy who created the geodesic dome. In '67, I hitchhiked from New York, where I was in school at the academy, and went to see the geodesic dome, which was a U.S. pavilion at the World's Fair in Montreal. And Fuller had this thing. He says, to him, he was looking for the generalized principles of God, not of religion. And so he says, if you understand the principles of God, which are the generalized principles, life will be easier. And he said there are approximately 250 principles. And one of the most important ones he had was unity as plural at minimum 2. So he says, what happens on the way God designed, I'm not really religious, so don't worry, I'm not preaching. The way God designed this earth is that there's always 2. There's always men and women. There's up and down. There's in and out. There's right and wrong. So one of the biggest reasons that people are in fights and arguing or wars or unhappiness is they don't realize that there's the other side of the coin. In other words, all coins have 3 sides, heads, tails, and the edge. So true intelligence is standing on the edge and seeing the left side and the heads and the tails. But the average person only sees one side, which is their side, and the other side is the wrong side. So in my book, Fake, I write about how my financial education, which began with my rich dad, but when I was in Vietnam, my rich dad wrote me, and I was flying off a carrier off just short of the demilitarized zone. And my rich dad just sent me a letter. He says, hey, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And I had no idea what that meant. Our schools don't teach us much, if anything, about money.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I didn't know. So I didn't know either.
I wanted to go find out, what does it mean that we're off the gold standard? So I went to look at the other side of the coin. And once I saw the other side of the coin, it soon began to dawn on me that our money is fake. That's what it meant. I went, oh my God. But if I had just blindly not even inquired about it, I would still be stupidly working for money.
Sure. And that's you've also professed that in order to really to really understand whatever view that you take, you really have to get over to the other side of that coin, that other side of that position, and understand that. and take it on as though you want to believe that, and only then, if you get in touch with that, can you come back over and support your position.
Well, let me just, because you got, Tommy, you're a real estate guy, like the Real Estate Guys cruise. The reason what happened in 1971 and why I was flying in Vietnam looking for gold, my helicopter, is because when the dollar came off the gold standard in 71, the dollar became debt. And debt cannot exist without taxes. And the average schmo, you could be a poor dad, PhD, they don't have any idea what debt and taxes means. But what does it mean to a real estate guy is real estate is the last real investment, well, there's a few others, class of investments that you can use debt and taxes to make you rich. But the average person is so financially ignorant. They believe in working hard for money, saving money, getting out of debt, and investing in the stock market, where a real estate guy knows that you want as much debt as you can and you want to pay no taxes. Because what happened in 1971, the U.S. dollar became debt. And the people that pay the taxes are their employees. That's why in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, lesson number 1 is the rich don't work for money because those who work for money pay taxes. And real estate guys don't.
Robert.
So that's the other side of the coin. And that's what's really hard to explain to a 401k or IRA guy who thinks ETFs are wonderful stuff.
So, Robert, on the cruise, you said a very profound thing, which is you are truly wealthy when you don't need money. Right. And you were talking about if you have the skill to raise money and use OPM, then you are forever financially free. Do you want to expand a little on that?
Yeah, in my book, Fake Money, Fake Teachers, and Fake Assets, is that I write about what I do, since I don't have stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or a job. And I call it an infinite return. And I was taught infinite return back in 1973 when I came back from Vietnam on how I can use debt to make money and pay no taxes. So the moment I knew I could use debt to pay and not pay taxes, why would I be in the MBA program? Why would I be getting a job? Why would I invest in the stock market? So it's called an infinite return. So back in 1973, I took a real estate course, for $385, 3 days long. And I bought a little 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo on the beach in Maui. I paid $18,000 for it. I put $1,800 down, and I made $25 a month. So the property at $18,000 gross price I was making $25 on debt, and I paid no taxes on the $25 because it's real estate. My life changed. I was like 28, 29 years, 27 years old.
That was an aha moment, huh?
I said, I never need money because I'm playing the game of the rich. Mm-hmm. I don't want to become like my poor dad and get my MBA. And I could have flown for the airlines or I could have sailed back for Standard Oil, which I have a third mate's license. Why would I do that? So that's what I was talking. That's what I write about in Fake. It's called the infinite return. But I think the only people that can do it are real estate guys. I take that back. You can. But you have to pay taxes. Real estate has the advantage of debt plus taxes. So anyway, that's why I have my accountants and my attorneys as my team. So that's really what infinite return is. And once I knew that, I never needed money again. And that's why I hear so many people that say, "Oh, I can't afford it. The property costs $6 million. I can't afford it." Well, you're a loser.
And so many people are afraid of debt.
But they think they have to use their money. I just go to either my investor or my banker, and I get the money, and I give them the money back. I mean, it's not that hard to do.
Yeah, the 401k folks are just scared to death of debt, aren't they?
Well, because they're taught to. Like I always say, what does school teach you about money? And this poor, I feel sorry for her. She was a dental hygienist. She says, "Oh, yeah, I know all that. I learned to balance my checkbook in college. FICO score only measures how much, your credit worthiness. It doesn't mean you know anything." So, like I have a Rich Dad TV, Millennial Money, and I got hate mail from all these millennials. I said, only lazy people use their own money. So I had to go back on my little Rich Dad program for the millennials and explain, well, most people, it's easier to say I can't afford it. Well, I can't afford it. Well, that's why you're poor. If you knew how to raise capital and knew what debt and taxes were, you'd be rich. No, I can't afford it. And that's why I said they're lazy. It's so easy to say I can't afford it than to take a class and hang out with real estate guys and think. So I really have no compassion for somebody who says I can't afford it. Well, figure out how you can afford it. That's what God gave you a brain for.
We're going to take a break. We have Robert Kiyosaki with us today. Stay with us. We'll be back and talk some more about his new book, Fake, on Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. We have Robert Kiyosaki with us today, the author of the all-time best-selling book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and 27 other books, of which the latest one is Fake. Jennifer, you had a question you wanted to ask Robert.
I did. Before the break, Robert, you briefly mentioned that you have your accountant and your attorney talking to each other, and I got the privilege to meet both of them together with you on the cruise this year, even though Tom had tax season. Tax week was the next week. Can you talk a little more about having not just individually great team members, but also having your team members really collaborate with each other?
Yeah, the problem with most real estate, or most investors, their accountants and attorney do not talk to each other. So when I do a deal, I've got to run it by both my accountants and my attorney. And that's why you're a rich guy when you travel with your accountant and your attorney. So on the real estate guys, Tom Wheelwright, who wrote the book Tax-Free Wealth, and Garrett Sutton, who says run your own corporation, both of those guys are on stage with me because I cannot do what I do as an individual. I must have, at minimum, a bookkeeper, then an accountant, then an attorney, and then a banker. So when I have my team, which is my bookkeeper, accountant, attorney, and banker, I can play the game. But the average person, even if they have a PhD in economics, well, I can't afford it. Oh, that's too risky. I can't do that. Why do I listen to those idiots? I don't know. So I was really happy that both my accountant and attorney show up with me as a demonstration. This is what we do. Because too many guys talk, but they don't do, if you know what I mean.
Sure. So not only do they...
That's why, Jennifer, didn't you learn a lot from both the accountant and the attorney?
A lot. And I love the games, too. It was very interactive. It made me really remember the concepts.
Yeah. So it's not that hard, but in school, cooperation is called cheating.
Oh my, yeah, and it's not.
That's why, that's why you have these guys like Bernanke, who's the Fed chairman, and Yellen, who was another PhD from Berkeley, I think. They don't know anything. They yak, but they really don't know, and they're running the Fed. So I sit there and listen to them. And I'm having an accountant and attorney is self-defense against what is called the PhD standard. Once the dollar came off the gold standard, it became the PhD standard. And that's why guys like Bernanke, bless his heart, say, it's called helicopter money. We're just going to pour money into the economy. And I go, oh, that's wonderful. There's more money for me to borrow. But it damages those who work for money because the value of the dollar goes down. Mm-hmm. And inflation goes up. Now the government says there's no inflation, but if you notice, food prices go up, education's gone up, and housing and medical has gone up. Mm-hmm. But the government will tell you there's no inflation.
well, figures don't lie, but liars figure, right? Robert, we're going to take a short break here. We have Robert Kiyosaki with us today. And we'll be back and ask him some more questions about his takeaways from the Summit at Sea conference that we were just on, about his new book and what he's doing to advance personal finance education. So stay with us. We'll be right back on Real Estate Radio Power Investing.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing. I'm Tom K. Wilson, your host, and we have today Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the all-time best-selling of all-time personal finance book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and 26 other books, 27 I guess now, including the new one called Fake, and we'll get to that in a bit. Robert, you would profess that people should not be afraid to fail, right?
Well, that's how you learn.
Yeah. Well,
a baby learns to walk by falling down. I learned to ride a bicycle by falling off. I became a rich man I became an entrepreneur starting companies that failed. You look at Thomas Edison, I think it took 1,014 things to invent the electric light or something like that. And the teachers tell you don't make mistakes. I mean, what is wrong with school teachers? They're the most horrible people on earth, and they're giving bad advice. They tell you don't cooperate, because that's cheating, and don't make mistakes. I mean, how do you learn?
Yeah, well, of course, part of the problem, I think, is that they haven't been out in the real world, right? They're just...
Well, they think they are, because they shop at Whole Foods or something.
Also, a lot of people take their advice from others who are ignorant, right? And poor people follow poor people.
Well, that's why it's called fake. Fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. When you read the book, you'll understand that fake money, fake teachers, and fake assets are all the same thing. They're all related. That's why there's no financial education in schools. I mean, it's only coming out now that the guys named Rockefeller and Mellon and J.P. Morgan and all that took control of the school system back in 1903 and made sure that financial education is never taught. And then in 1913, the Fed was created, and in 1913, the 16th Amendment was passed, and in 1914, the IRS was created. So money then became debt and taxes. So the Federal Reserve exists because it can print money, but it can only get the money back through taxes. And then they tell you to save money. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. That's what fake's about. So you got these school teachers who know nothing. They're upset because they're not making enough money. And that guy from the pension plan, he spoke to us while we were in Fort Lauderdale. Man, if you've seen his video called The Pension Gamble, all these school teachers, firefighters, and police officers, Wall Street ripped them off. And these school teachers and firefighters and police officers, they don't have a pension now.
Boy, that was quite a launch.
Ripped them off.
That was quite a launch for the conference, wasn't it? A lot of headline news about student loans and so forth. Not a whole lot about pensions yet. So it's one of those sleeping bears.
Phoenix, the city of Phoenix, they say they're $4 billion underwater. It's $9 billion. And the people that are stealing are the firefighters, teachers, and police officers. The last firefighter got a $1.2 million bonus and $175,000 pension for life. They're ripping us off. Our own public servants are ripping us off.
What do you see are some solutions beyond just individuals being aware of these issues?
Well, go on the real estate cruise and learn from other people. I thought that was what. I don't go there to speak. I go there to learn.
Yeah,
you got to hear from different points of view. You go up there with your silly financial planner, you're in trouble.
Yeah, not only does it when you get your team around you of good individuals, getting them to interface certainly creates the synergy. And what would you say is some of the criteria you use to select the people that you most associate with and most trust and have have enabled you the most? What characteristics?
Well, the rule of thumb I have is the way you find a good partner is through a bad partner. It's like, how do you find a good husband or wife? Well, you find some bad ones first. So, I mean, I've gone through, most accountants and attorneys are not very bright financially, as I found. But they might be good at the law, they might be good at accounting, but they're not good at investing. So that's why you got to be very careful. So you guys have seen my team, right? You got Kenny McElroy,
Sure.
who's real estate.
Yep.
You got Josh and Lisa, social capitalism. And all this. It's my team. I'm a team player. That's why I didn't do well in school, because I was very cooperative at test time. The teacher said, "You're cheating."
And Robert Helms famously says, that you become the average of the several people you surround yourself with. So be careful whom you surround yourself with.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's pretty important.
So everything they teach you in school will keep you poor, because that's why there's fake money, fake teachers, and fake assets. It was designed to keep people poor, including the school system.
You've also mentioned the importance of surrounding yourself with people who are not only intelligent in the right way, but also character. And of course, Beth Clifford is really big on having people you surround yourself with choose them first on character.
Well, it's called moral ethics and legality.
Indeed.
So it's pretty simple stuff, but finding somebody like that's almost. I've not been successful at that.
Yep,
my own CFO has sued me, and he turned out to be a big crook. I've had 2 very bad CFOs.
So what do you do to bootstrap yourself up from that?
Pay the bill and move on.
Okay. Cut your losses and move on.
Move on.
Well, no, you just pay to get your lesson. Today I have Tom Wheelwright.
Okay.
So, I learned what a bad accountant is by having bad accountants, and now I know what a good accountant is.
Okay. We're going to take a break. We have Robert Kiyosaki on with us today on Real Estate Radio Power Investing, talking about our takeaways from the Real Estate Guys 17th Summit at Sea 9-day conference, and about Robert's new book, and we'll talk about that some more as soon as we get back. So stay with us.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Power Investing.
Streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz.
For more information on today's topic or guest, visit TomWilsonProperties.com. That's TomWilsonProperties.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Power Investing, Tom K. Wilson.
Welcome back, Real Estate Radio Power Investing. Today we have Robert Kiyosaki on for, I think, the 4th time with us. It's an always honor to have him. I've known Robert for a long, long time, and just every time I get time with him, I continue to learn, and love the interface with him. He is so giving, and as much a student as he is a great teacher. And Robert, talked a little bit more. We've talked a bit throughout this program, but tell us a little bit more about the book Fake and what inspired this. Certainly the principles in it seem to be ones that you've talked about throughout your your time of educating the public. What inspired you to focus on this topic?
Well, like I said, Fake starts with me as a Marine pilot flying in Vietnam. Excuse me, I flew off the carrier and I went behind enemy lines to go buy some gold. And I realized I didn't know what gold was. Most Americans have never even seen gold except for gold jewelry. So they don't know what gold money is. So I call it God's money. Gold and silver were here before the earth was formed. While the earth was formed, and it'll be here long after you and I are gone. So that's God's money. And then there's fake money, which is government money. And now there's people's money called cyber money, Bitcoin and things like that. So the monetary system's coming apart, plus our economics are going. So I took economics in school and learned nothing, except M0, M1, M2, M3, which I didn't know what they were talking about. But today, what happened after 1971, it didn't become economics, it became bubblenomics. So what that means is every time the government gets in trouble, it just prints money. It just keeps printing more money. And so what's the future going to hold? Well, the whole thing stopped working around the year 2000. It went from 71 to 2000. Everything was fine. Then it was the dot-com bust and the real estate bust, and they just printed more money. So now we're sitting on the biggest bubble in the history of the world, and it's a global bubble.
Well, Robert, we've come to the end of the program. Thank you once again for sharing your insights. Thanks for writing another book as part of your total intent on providing financial education for individuals around the world. This is
same to you, Tom and Jennifer. You could keep up the good work, keep teaching, and keep, the more you give, the more you receive.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
To our listeners, you can go to wilsoninvest.com. And you can sign up for a newsletter that helps you to stay in touch with what's going on in the world of economics and real estate. By doing that, you also get access to syndications of commercial and multifamily properties, which are real assets that Wilson Investment Properties proudly makes available after a very careful and long filtering process, which we're being more and more conservative as we enter this next era of economic cycle. So we look forward to hearing from you, and you can also on wilsoninvest.com, you can also catch the podcast from folks like Robert Kiyosaki and his team, Tom Wheelwright and Garrett Sutton and Kenny McElroy and Robert Helms and Bob Helms and just Dr. Doug Duncan, and just a lot of wonderful folks that I love talking to because I learn myself, of course, every time that I listen to them. So thanks for joining us today, and remember that the only thing that matters is what you do next.